Right. You didn't want to let that injury define who you are.
Exactly.
Which is kind of funny because it doesn't define who you are like in a negative way,
right.
but it's helped to add to the definition of who you are in terms of what you do now in med tech sales. So you kind of took that and turned it on its head and made it a positive.
Honestly, in a lot of different areas of my life too, not just in my career.
Okay. What else?
I mean, it's a lot. Very deep.
Well, however much you want to talk about it, surface level,
absolutely.
or feel free to get into whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, there's another facet of the accident. You know, I lost a loved one, and I, just not only physically, but was in a lot of emotional pain as well. And so just going through all of that at once, I think has taught me a lot about myself and about others. And I mean, what I'm doing right now is sharing my story, and that's why I think I'm here, why I made it.
Well, I appreciate that you're here,
yeah.
and I appreciate that you have that perspective. Mm-hmm. I'm really sorry to hear about what happened. Obviously, the accident, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had lost a loved one, so I'm sorry to hear that, first and foremost. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to be here and share your story, because this is really cool. We don't often hear about these kind of stories.
Yeah.
Social media is full of, happy, good stories. You look at anybody's social media page, for the most part, I mean, there are some exceptions, but I would say 90 to 95% of social media is like a perfectly curated story of somebody's life.
Yeah.
If I were to look at your social media, there's probably not much on there about this.
Right.
Media, on the other hand, meaning the news, is oftentimes all the negative stuff.
Yeah.
So, you might hear about negative stuff on the news. I tend to avoid the news. I don't know how you are about that kind of thing, but it's really cool that you're sharing this story, because there's probably a lot of athletes that have gone through losing loved ones or injuries or rehab or, the mental struggles of whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so it's good to know that people have gone through this.
Yeah.
People can kind of form a sense of community around that. And if they're going through struggles, a big scope of this podcast is for people to be able to have something to listen to, reach out to. Future episodes might be people wanting to come onto the show to share their story.
Yeah.
Society at large is becoming a little bit more open about mental health.
For sure.
And I think that's really cool. It's not quite so taboo anymore. So you're a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think that's part of my purpose now, and exactly why I'm here, and I live to tell the tale, and, I'm doing great. So
yeah,
I like to share that.
Yeah. That's really cool. Also, what you said about how the injury and you're a walking example of medical devices.
Yeah.
And you turned that into your purpose to help other people, because you know that there's other people that need these devices.
Yep.
So obviously your job is what it is. You work a sales position and you're trying to make an income, and we're both probably in a similar position with the cost of living and whatever. We live in San Diego, but at large, the cost of living is just ridiculous. So to a certain extent, we're just trying to live our lives.
Yeah.
But it's cool, as I'm a personal trainer and a mental performance coach, these are things I'm passionate about. It's cool that you were able to find a career that you're passionate about through whatever avenue you ended up at that destination, that you're able to take that passion and apply it to something that you do.
Yeah, exactly.